Welcome back to the Deep Dive, where we take the sources you've shared, tear into the narrative threads, and give you the distilled essence of insight, strategy, and pure, glorious story.
And today, we are definitely shifting gears.
Oh yeah, we're leaving the salt spray of the coast, the ghostly echo of Agatha the Banshee, and, well, the relative safety of known territory behind.
That's a good way to put it. The party has hit the road, and they are heading straight into what we can only describe as a desolate, cursed wasteland.
It really feels like that.
It does. Our heroes have committed to a really daunting mission, traversing 6 full days of wilderness travel to reach the ominous ruins of Thundertree.
And this destination, it isn't arbitrary. This was specifically named by Agatha herself.
Exactly. As the ancestral home, the origin point of a critical lineage the party needs to find to, unravel the larger mystery.
So our deep dive today is going to meticulously track that long, strenuous track. We're going to focus heavily on a really disturbing, highly psychological deception they faced midway.
And then we'll detail the brutal, explosive, and frankly terrifying combat they walked right into upon arrival at the ruins.
So I guess our mission statement for today is crystal clear. We need to analyze that chilling psychological trap set for them at a major crossroads.
An ambush that leveraged human instinct and compassion against them.
Perfectly put. And once we get past that, we will explore the terrifying, hostile environment of Thundertree itself. It's a place where they quickly discover that nature has been completely corrupted.
The undead are uniquely dangerous.
And the very ground they walk on is, well, it's trying to kill them. We have a lot of ground to cover, literally and figuratively, so let's unpack this. Okay, let's start with the preparations for this enormous journey. Before they even hit the road, we should probably do a quick context check-in.
Good idea.
The party's coming off that high-stakes confrontation with the flying, fiery Remorhaz and their strange, ethereal dealings with the Banshee. So what state are they in, physically and narratively, as they prepare for a 6-day haul?
They are, fortunately, fully rested and fully prepared for this long haul, which is a massive stroke of luck.
Oh, they need it.
They absolutely need it because, as you said, they are heading into arguably their most dangerous territory yet. So they've had time to breathe, to recover their magical energies, and repair what they could.
But the mission itself, that remains weighty.
Extremely. Gundren Rockseeker, the dwarf merchant whose disappearance kicked off this entire saga, remains unconscious but stable. He is the anchor, the constant heavy reminder of their ultimate purpose, to stabilize him and understand the Black Spider's ultimate goals.
And we can't forget Sister Gariel. Her rescue, bringing her back from the brink of a spiritual hijacking by that malevolent spirit they defeated, that was a major victory.
It was huge. She is safe and whole, and she made a profound, important promise to the party.
The promise to repay them someday for the immense kindness, the courage, and, the spiritual rescue they performed in saving her.
Right. And that's a powerful narrative thread, a promise of future aid from a major cleric of a powerful organization, just sort of hanging out there waiting to be redeemed.
It's a big chip to have in their corner.
Absolutely. Though while they're physically ready, their transportation is still bearing the heavy scars of their last major fight.
A cart?
Yeah, the cart. We are told specifically that the cart's canopy was absolutely annihilated by the searing heat of that flying Remorhaz encounter.
So they're traveling exposed, which is such a potent visual metaphor, isn't it, for their exposed nature as they drive 6 days toward uncertainty.
They are vulnerable and they know it.
Now, before they leave the relative safety of Phandalin, we get this fascinating tiny detail that completely changes the scope of the adventure.
I love this part.
Plepjulep takes a moment to do a deep inspection of a piece of loot they've been carrying, a jade frog artifact they found way back in Tregmaw Castle.
And he notices a microscopic, almost throwaway detail inscribed on the bottom of this thing, made in water deep.
Which feels insignificant at first, but I think here's where it gets really interesting and the narrative scale just explodes.
Well, what's so fascinating here is precisely that connection. Waterdeep is not some backwater village. It's the crown of the north. It's a massive port city, a hub of commerce, political power, high culture.
So to find an artifact manufactured there, a small, polished luxury item, ending up in a remote, rural, ramshackle goblin castle like Cragmaw.
It suggests that the conflicts the party is dealing with are far from isolated incidents.
So this isn't just about local bandits and a regional monster problem. This is bigger.
It implies a much wider network of procurement, supply, and influence. Someone with serious metropolitan connections is funding, equipping, or at least supplying the groups involved in this conflict.
Whether that's the Kragmaw goblins, the Black Spider, or,
Yeah.
or even the unseen forces connected to the Banshee's warnings.
Exactly. If they find a jade frog from Waterdeep here, imagine what else is being sourced. Are the Black Spider's lieutenants wearing silks from Baldur's Gate? Are the goblins eating high-grade iron rations packed in Neverwinter?
This tiny frog cracks open the local rural story to reveal a continental, maybe even a geopolitical conspiracy.
It absolutely does. It means the forces they're fighting are connected to the highest levels of civilization, making this entire saga much, much larger than a simple treasure hunt.
Wow, that context is incredibly heavy to carry for a 6-day haul. Knowing that their seemingly localized skirmishes might be linked to international trade routes and major cities would certainly raise the paranoia level.
For sure. And the first half of the journey, the first 3 days of travel, is actually quite uneventful in terms of direct confrontation.
They're just chewing up distance, using the time to reflect on this new scale of conflict, I imagine.
They are, and the only notable thing they pass is the construction site for the Waystone Inn at the crossroads.
Right, they see progress.
They specifically note the progress. New blocks and bricks are being added to the foundation. This is a subtle but incredibly important piece of world building and a thematic counterpoint to what they are driving toward.
So even amidst the rising tide of dragons, chaos, monstrous threats, and these geopolitical conspiracies,
Life is continuing, and people are still dedicated to rebuilding and establishing normalcy.
it's a small sign of hope, a testament to human resilience, before they walk right into a perfect, calculated setup designed to destroy that very resilience. That flickering hope is immediately challenged on day 3, right at that very crossroads where the Waystone Inn is being built. This brings us to part 2. The Crossroads Trap, an unsettling deception designed with surgical precision to neutralize anyone approaching Thundertree.
This is a masterclass, not necessarily in perfect execution, but in psychological vectoring. The scene they stumble upon is perfectly calibrated to disarm weary adventurers.
To bypass their combat instincts entirely.
Exactly. A small child, appearing 9 or 10 years old, is sitting alone beside the road, openly crying while clutching a stuffed toy.
It's the image of innocence and vulnerability, a clear, unmistakable call for immediate, protective aid. It instantly triggers the heroic instincts of any adventurer.
But the party is veteran enough now and experienced enough in dealing with supernatural threats to notice when something is fundamentally wrong with the picture.
Right. Nessa, in particular, approaches with caution and immediately observes 2 unnerving details that they defy nature itself.
The first is the air around the child is unnaturally cold.
And the second, which is even weirder, is that there are absolutely no birds or insects present in the immediate vicinity.
And that absence of natural life is the critical clue. It screams of a magical suppression field or an aura of pure, malignant falsehood.
The natural world is actively exploiting this spot because it senses the deception.
Yeah. The child then feeds them a plausible story, claiming her family vanished from a nearby campsite, which would explain why she is alone.
But Neza, exercising excellent caution, goes to investigate this alleged campsite.
And her findings immediately expose the trap's chronological flaw. She finds cart tracks, but they are suspiciously old, about 3 days' worth of age leading into the woods.
So if the family vanished just now, the tracks should be fresh. The timeline doesn't match the emotion.
This is where the enemy's reliance on psychological shock fails. They assumed the sight of the crying child would prompt immediate emotional intervention, not a forensic analysis of the terrain.
The time lag in the story is what breaks the illusion.
And this is why the magic users, specifically Imogen, save the day. Imogen uses her keen perception, perhaps honed by her own complex history of seeing things that aren't there. As she sees through the illusion, she realizes the crying, vulnerable child is a doppelganger.
Let's dwell on the doppelganger for a moment, because this is a highly intelligent, terrifying creature.
Absolutely. They are the antithesis of a brute force monster. They don't rely on claws or fire. They rely entirely on exploiting vulnerability and trust.
They can read surface thoughts, steal memories,
and perfectly mimic forms. This creature chose the most defenseless, innocence incarnate form possible to lure the party in. It was banking on the party rushing in, being split up, and being unable to bring force to bear against a child.
But let's stop and consider the doppelganger's intent. If it's high-level intelligence, why risk an ambush on an unknown group of travelers? Was this a test, or simply a flawed ambush mandated by a larger organization?
I think the failure analysis is key. This was a sophisticated trap, but it was flawed because it relied on speed and emotion.
Right. The moment Neza starts checking tracks and Imogen starts using arcane perception, the game is lost. The doppelganger underestimated the professionalism of this particular group.
And while Imogen has the magical insight, Neza confirms the real stakes by searching more thoroughly behind the rocks and finding the true victim.
The actual child, tied up and gagged, but thankfully unharmed.
The revelation is immediate and total. The moment the shapeshifter is exposed, the game is over. It immediately abandons its disguise and flees into the wilderness.
And crucially, it doesn't stick around to fight.
No. This creature's goal was ambush and deception, not a direct confrontation with a prepared tactical group. This suggests that the doppelganger itself was vulnerable and was operating under a strict mandate. Lure them in, separate them, kill the easy targets, and if you fail, escape.
The rescued child provides the final essential piece of the puzzle. She explains she belongs to a group of magical beast hunters.
Which suggests the doppelganger was targeting specific, high-value travelers, likely those who looked capable of fighting monsters and might be carrying high-grade magical gear or information.
And in gratitude for saving her life, she gives the party a family heirloom brooch for luck.
The brooch is a nice payoff for their good deed and keen observation, a small moment of legitimate human connection in a moment of pure deception. But the real takeaway here is the diversifying nature of the threat.
They are no longer just fighting territorial monsters or crude goblin raids.
No, they are fighting sophisticated agents capable of using magic, psychology, and calculated risk to gain advantage. If we connect this to the bigger picture of the Waterdeep supplied villains, this suggests a command structure that prioritizes intelligence and manipulation over brute force.
Absolutely. You drop your guard the second you think you're in a rescue scenario, not a combat scenario.
Yeah.
This was a severe psychological warning shot that they were moving into territory where they couldn't trust anything, not even the most innocent face in distress.
And that level of paranoia must have defined the remaining 3 days of travel.
The journey continues for the remaining 3 days, but now under the crushing weight of that unnerving deception. They must have been doubling their watches, questioning every shadow, every rustle in the trees.
Oh, for sure. And eventually, the path leads them directly into the accursed ruins of Thundertree.
The change in atmosphere is immediate and palpable the moment they leave the main road, isn't it?
It really is. The path becomes aggressively overgrown, winding between dilapidated buildings that are just choked with vines and brush. This isn't just an abandoned town. It's a place where decay has been accelerated, where nature has been twisted into something hostile and unforgiving.
And that residual psychological strain from the doppelganger encounter would only amplify the feeling of dread as they enter this environmental nightmare.
Yeah, as if the environment wasn't clear enough, they run straight into an old weathered warning sign just before officially entering the settlement.
I love the bluntness and the pure information density of this sign. It's just, danger plant monsters and zombies, turn back now.
And of course, the party, being committed to Agatha's prophecy, presses forward anyway.
Naturally.
That sign is crucial, though. It confirms two major things. One, the major threats they should expect are dual, the unnatural, undead, and corrupted plant life. And two, that this ruin is notorious enough to warrant a public safety warning.
Which means its horrors are well known to the surrounding regions, suggesting the danger here is constant and long-standing, not a temporary blip.
Exactly. They are consciously entering a public hazard zone.
So let's talk about the atmosphere of devastation inside. This town was originally ruined by the massive eruption of Mount Hotenow decades ago. What does Thundertree look like now, long after the ash settled?
It's a study in pure desolation, layered over with supernatural malignancy. Most of the buildings are just reduced to rubble.
Skeletons of buildings.
Yeah. And where they aren't rubble, the roofs have long since collapsed, giving the entire town an open, skeletal feel exposed to the elements. The ash and lava flow from Mount Hotenow centuries ago fundamentally broke the geography here.
But what makes it truly cursed is the vegetation.
That's the key. It's aggressively reclaiming the settlement, yet it looks wrong. It's a chaotic mix of natural overgrowth and visible remnants of some unnaturally accelerated blight, perhaps tied to whatever cursed them in the first place.
And looming over all of this, at the base of a nearby hill, is a large, foreboding stone tower.
The only truly intact structure.
The central feature of any good ruin, beckoning the inquisitive. They decide to investigate one of the few relatively intact structures, the remains of the Brown Horse Tavern. They clearly need to find a defensible base of operations, or at least a place to get their bearings.
Precisely. They're scouting cautiously, moving with the paranoia the doppelganger taught them. But Thundertree greets them with hostility immediately.
Right away.
The moment they open the door and move inside, they encounter a zombie shambling toward them. They transition directly from scouting into a violent, two-part introduction to the true local threats.
Combat erupts instantly, and they quickly discover these are not your average rotting dead. This is where we need to analyze the strategic implications of this new monster profile.
Not at all. Dedza immediately opens fire with magical missiles, trying to neutralize the threat from a distance before it can close. Valindra then follows up with a radiant guiding bolt.
The choice of radiant damage, which suggests divine magic or light, is highly tactical.
Very. It is particularly devastating against the undead, and it proves immediately effective here. But the defining, terrifying characteristic of this encounter comes when the zombie falls.
Here is the absolute game changer. When the zombie drops, its skin bubbles ominously for a brief second,
Before releasing a noxious, suffocating cloud of gas.
They manage to avoid the fumes thanks to quick action and distance, but that is a terrifying realization they now have to internalize.
This fundamentally changes everything about how they fight the undead in Thundertree. In a traditional scenario, once the monster is dead, the threat is gone and you can focus on the next target.
But here, the act of killing the zombie creates a new area of effect hazard. These aren't just AF zombies, they are delayed action, explosive, poisonous bombs waiting to go off.
It forces them to rethink every single engagement.
So the strategic dilemma is acute. Do you fight them in melee, risking being grappled and infected but avoiding the detonation? Or do you fight them at range, ensuring the gas cloud explodes right where they need to maneuver next?
Exactly. It's a risk-reward calculation for every finishing blow. They move cautiously into the connected room, knowing they have to be meticulous.
Plepchulep and Turin are ready, and when a second zombie appears, they strike quickly.
Plepsep's spear and Turin's hand axe hit hard, trying to drop it before it can truly threaten. Turin is grazed by a glancing blow before he can retreat, emphasizing that even a short lapse in positioning against these explosive threats is too risky.
That glancing blow just underscores the constant danger. Imogen then uses a firebolt to incinerate the creature from a safe distance, which is smart given the noxious fumes might be dispersed or consumed by the fire.
And sure enough, the creature repeats the bubbling, explosive death. The unique, perilous nature of the undead threat in Thundertree is absolutely confirmed. Kill them, and they still try to kill you with a parting chemical shot.
So while the rest of the party is dealing with the explosive dead, Ohio Jim and Neza are scouting the immediate vicinity.
And they find a house that is in remarkably better condition than the ruined tavern. Its sports-reinforced doors, heavy iron bars, and thick shutters. It looks like a prepared, secure shelter.
They knock, and a voice immediately warns them about the dangers of Thundertree. The resident opens a door, and they meet Reidoth, an older human druid who will give them the intel they desperately need.
This is a critical moment for exposition and strategic assessment.
Absolutely. What does he tell them?
Reidoth gives them the localized geopolitical context. He explains he's investigating the area's history. The town was first terrorized by a green dragon named Venomfang, which was subsequently driven away by a white dragon, Cryovane, the same dragon that has been plaguing the surrounding region.
But here's the crucial update that changes the strategic threat level. Cryovane, the white dragon, hasn't been seen since a recent storm. That is vital information.
It suggests the dragons are either gone or dormant, creating a power vacuum. And what fills a power vacuum?
The smaller, decentralized, localized, horrors-like explosive zombies and the supernaturally corrupted nature they're about to face.
Precisely. Thundertree isn't safe because the biggest threat is gone. It's more volatile and chaotic because all the smaller horrors are now unchecked, free from the tyranny of a single major predator.
So Reidoth strongly recommends the party turn tail and leave unless their business is truly urgent.
Which, of course, it is.
Yeah.
They must find the lineage connected to Agatha's prophecy, and that means pushing further into the chaos Reidoth describes.
The warnings are clear, but the party has to press on to fulfill Agatha's prophecy. This brings us to Part 5, the war against corrupted nature, which demonstrates the sheer volume and diversity of threats here.
Yeah, while some were with Reidoth, other party members, Turin, Lyra, Imogen, find a building filled with what appear to be ordinary dead tree stumps.
Ordinary until they notice the stumps are breathing.
Which is deeply unsettling, a sign of supernatural corruption affecting the very plant life. Turin, perhaps driven by his inherent connection to nature or just curiosity, attempts to communicate with them.
And he fails.
He fails, which is a key failure of empathy. These aren't just living plants. They are hostile, unnatural constructs, animated by a malevolent force. They are victims turned weapons.
Their suspicion immediately pays off. The stumps spring to life as hostile twig blights. This is nature gone completely wrong. Weaponized vegetation.
Lyra immediately attacks one, causing it to crag and shriek. Imogen, showing incredible tactical brilliance, doesn't just damage them, she casts a grease spell, coating the floor in a slick film.
That isn't a damage spell, that is pure battlefield control.
100%. It's creating a slippery tactical hazard that will slow the Blight's movement and make them vulnerable, limiting their ability to overwhelm the party with sheer numbers. That is a highly skilled use of resources in a tight space.
But the threat quickly escalates.
It does. More hostile plant creatures emerge from outside, sensing the struggle and joining the fray. We see larger needle blights and awakened shrubs, a full botanical assault team descending upon them from multiple angles.
The chaos of the ruins means the party has to fight a decentralized, multi-front battle.
The tactical response is beautiful, though. Plepsilep and Valindra, having moved outside and potentially heard the commotion, flank the enemies, launching a surprise attack from the back.
And Valindra then unleashes her Thunder Wave spell.
And this is another moment of brilliant resource management. The Thunder Wave is spectacular, demonstrating how clever application of magic can be more effective than pure brute force.
It damages 2 creatures, but critically, it uses concussive force to push one vine blight into a nearby well, where it just disappears into the depths.
That is pure environmental control. Valindra used a simple, low-level spell, not for raw damage, but to remove a major threat from the battlefield entirely by using the terrain against it. In a resource-depleted environment like Thundertree, that kind of efficiency is priceless.
But this is a high-resource battle, and the party knows they need to end it fast, especially with the unique threat level of Thundertree. They are in close quarters, and the plant creatures are naturally highly resistant to piercing and slashing attacks.
They need powerful elemental solutions. So the climax of this segment is defined by a massive, high-risk expenditure of magical power. Fire magic.
It becomes a literal firestorm.
A necessary evil against this horde of flammable enemies. Neza, still near Reidoth's fortified house, uses the window as a launch point and unleashes a devastating fireball.
A high-level magical display, incinerating several plant creatures in one spectacular blast, carving a swath of scorched earth through the ruin.
And just when you think they couldn't possibly be more committed to magically flattening the entire block, we get the truly surprising, desperate moment of the entire battle.
Ohio Jim, the stalwart rogue and adventurer who has never cast a spell in his life, follows up.
He uses a magical scroll he had been holding onto, a precious, irreplaceable artifact, to cast his own fireball. Wait, let's pause here. This isn't just a spell. This is Ohio Jim, the rogue. This is a desperate, character-defining moment.
He has crossed a threshold, using his most potent hidden resource. What does this decision tell us about the severity of the threat?
It screams existential fear. The danger was so overwhelming, the sheer volume of corrupted nature, the speed with which they were being surrounded, that Ohio Jim decided that this scroll, which he may have saved for weeks, was better spent surviving the next 5 minutes than being held for some future uncertain need.
It's a total commitment to the present fight, a moment of true desperation.
That combined magical assault, 2 powerful, high-level fire spells going off almost simultaneously, devastates the remaining hostile plants, reducing them to charred remains and ash.
It's a moment of both incredible power and severe strategic resource depletion.
Absolutely. Ohio Jim, in a moment of necessity, proves that the heroes are willing to use every tool, every artifact, no matter how precious, to survive this accursed town.
Valindra finishes the final surviving creature with a decisive short sword strike. They have won, but they have paid dearly in magical resources, 2 fireballs, powerful directional spells like Thunder Wave, and general physical and mental exhaustion from fighting 3 distinct high-intensity threats in a single day. The party has survived the shape-shifting deception at the crossroads, the uniquely dangerous explosive zombies, and now a horde of corrupted plant monsters that required 2 massive magical detonations to defeat.
Yeah, they should be celebrating, collapsing, or at least setting up watches and assessing their damage. They've used their biggest bombs.
Instead, the atmosphere immediately shifts again. Just as the adrenaline begins to fade and the weariness sets in, the entire party hears a terrifying, highly agitated sound.
Screeching and banging coming from the houses immediately next to them.
They must have been drawn by the deafening noise of the twin fireballs.
That has to be it. And that is the ultimate immediate cliffhanger. It signals that whatever power vacuum Cryovane left behind is being filled by highly aggressive, decentralized entities that are now right on top of them.
So what's your analysis of the current state of Thundertree?
I think it's an extremely volatile, chaotic mix of threats. You have the undead remnants of the Manhotnau disaster, you have supernaturally corrupted nature, likely tied to some deeper blight, and now you have these new entities, whatever is making the screeching and banging, that are highly aggressive and highly vocal.
This suggests they're dealing with localized threats that haven't been contained by a single major villain.
Right. And the major problem is that they have expended significant magical resources, including 2 life-saving fireballs, and now they are facing an unknown, highly agitated enemy in close quarters.
The fight is far from over, and their ability to flatten the threat with fire is severely diminished.
This sounds like the party just walked into a hornet's nest, pulled the pin on their 2 biggest grenades, and now the rest of the swarm is arriving, and they don't have the strength to pull the pin again.
Precisely. They're on their back foot, facing immediate, acute peril. The urgency of finding that lineage tied to Thundertree has put them in a position where they are functionally running on fumes while the threats around them are escalating.
The enemy diversification here is what truly stands out. They had to pivot from fighting a manipulative, subtle shapeshifter to fighting an area denial undead threat to fighting a brute force botanical assault, all in a matter of hours.
So what stands out to you most about this deep dive? For me, it's the contrast between the psychological acuity of the doppelganger trap and the sheer, desperate magical devastation required to overcome the Blight Horde. It shows the incredible range of threats they face, from silent, manipulative terror to loud, explosive combat.
I agree completely, and the unique nature of the undead, those explosive zombies, is the single detail that lingers for me because it changes the rules of engagement. It's not enough to be victorious. Victory itself is dangerous and costs resources just to manage the fumes.
Yeah, that's a great point.
But if we must leave them with a final provocative thought, let's consider the true cost of this battle. When heroes like Ohio Jim use their most powerful, most precious magic, like casting a fireball for the very first time from a scroll, they exhaust their reserves and commit deeply to this fight.
They risk being unable to face whatever horror that escalating banging sound heralds.
The most powerful magic often comes with the highest cost. And right now, deep in the ruins of Thundertree, the bill is due.
A truly high-stakes entry into the ruins of Thundertree. They are in the belly of the beast and they just shot off their flares. We'll be right here analyzing every move when they face whatever is making that terrible noise. You are going to want to tune in for the next deep dive.